Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, I appreciate it very, very much. And always glad to welcome in one of those people that kind of keeps us knowing, keeps us going about all the things happening down at the port. We welcome back to the show, Chet Chasson. Chet, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on this kind of pre-Christmas.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so speaking of well wishes and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you, your family, and certainly everybody down at the port.
Thank you for that. And we certainly wish you and everyone there at HTV and the viewers a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Yeah, and it really is. Can you imagine? It's already the end of the year. And man, there's so many things that have been done and certainly accomplished. Can we take a little walk back and just kind of see? There's so many things I know that people maybe aren't aware of, but y'all have gotten a lot done here in 2023.
Absolutely. We started the year off still in, that recovery mode, right? From Hurricane Ida. It takes a while to get over that Cat 5 storm, Cat 4, but we know it was a Cat 5 here in our area.
Right.
It takes a lot to get over that, and we kind of started continuing our recovery and are proud that we've been able to, as our community has, to work towards full recovery. Still have a couple things to do, but we've done a lot of cleanup, repaired all of our buildings, and did all of the things we need to do to recover for our organization and to continue to help our community thrive and survive.
Yeah. And again, getting back into the office is another one of those things, And what a nice celebration with a ribbon cutting to really kind of get back into those offices, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we could do it without fanfare and that sort of thing, but it's really, we need to celebrate these little milestones whenever we get them, especially for, in recovery of things like major storms, like Hurricane Ida, as I mentioned. Yeah. Getting back in completely into our office building again was kind of like an awakening, a renewal of our port, a renewal of our community, a renewal of our faith as we move forward, into 2024.
It's really interesting you mentioned that. I tell you, it's one of those things that we always try to challenge people on is don't look at the big picture, try and break it down into smaller pieces. And I love the fact that y'all are celebrating the little things. I think that that's how we achieve great things, by really celebrating those little things. And I'm sure your staff had to be really excited about that too, right?
Absolutely. Look, we called it the camp where we were for a couple of years, and everybody was so close, tight knit, and kind of got together, and it kind of solidified our admin staff and our staff as a whole. A lot of times when you get people close together, it can cause issues. Well, for us, it got us kind of more of a tight knit group. We're very, very happy for that, obviously. As a leader of an organization, you want your people to enjoy being around each other as they're working and doing good work for the community. But moving back into the building, kind of everyone having their own space, that ability to get their job done on a daily basis in a comfortable way was really something absolutely 100% needed. And we're very happy to be back in our new office, so to speak, using my air quotes. It's
new
the same
old
building,
office, right? New old office.
But it's new, right?
Right.
So.
It's one of those things where we see very often in the line of work that I do that traumatic events that create some drama very often either pull people together or they move them apart. Synergy versus entropy. And so it's really nice to see that that's how your team, it takes a great deal of maturity, takes good leadership to make sure that people are doing that and getting closer together. And then you appreciate that time apart. You almost miss the camp life, right? I wonder if that's come up in conversation.
It has. You miss it, but you appreciate what you have now, right?
Right. It's like going back to the first apartment you and your spouse ever lived in. You miss it, but you don't know that you want to go back to it.
Absolutely. I'm okay not being in that little trailer that I was in that we were in when we first started.
Very good. Can you mention maybe some of the other milestones that were really big for you and for the port as we kind of wrap up this first segment before we lead into the next one?
Sure. I think just seeing the continued work in what we know as our energy production now for offshore oil and gas, that constant motion of products, goods, and services being brought out of Port Fourchon on a daily basis was good to see, and it's steady. We can talk a little bit more about that if time allows.
Right.
But the steady business of offshore oil and gas, the incoming of some milestones for what we see as an expanding energy frontier in the Gulf of Mexico in terms of offshore wind. And we're very proud to have been a part of that or continue to be a part of that discussion. We can service offshore oil and gas. We obviously can service offshore wind as well and have that balanced approach to energy for our country.
Yeah. And so you bring up a really good point about a lot of those milestones is kind of that comfort level, getting back into the office, but being able to continue on the path. One of the things that has been remarkable over the last 2.5 years now is your ability to function and your ability to operate at a high level so quickly, coming back from all of the difficulty that we've had and all the damages. I mean, just getting down there. Once you got down to Fourchon, y'all were able to work and do that. And so, Chet, we'll take a short break if that's okay, and we'll come right back with you talking a whole lot more about these options down at the port. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on Bayou Time.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Parabon General Health Systems, modern technology, and timeless caring. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bourke, know your rights. South Louisiana Bank, it's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough. Alford and Associates, for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.
Hello and welcome back to this edition of Bayou Time. Again, your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us, however you may be joining us. And we welcome back to the program Chet Chesson, Executive Director down at Port Fourchon. Chet, welcome back.
Thank you. Good to talk to you.
I appreciate it. And, we were just kind of talking about all of these things and some of the good things to come, but that comes with a great deal of planning and organization. And you've been able to be a part of some really unique conferences and some really unique discussions. Tell us a little bit about some of that, especially some of that extended travel.
Absolutely. Let me start with offshore oil and gas and what we continue to do in servicing that. There's about 19 rigs drilling new wells in the Gulf of Mexico on a daily basis. That has been steady for the last 6 months or so. Not fluctuating, kind of staying steady. So we're very, very happy that that's going to continue for the future. There's a lease sale that's coming up later, I believe it's next week, or maybe even before the end of this week, quite honestly. And so that's going to be the last lease sale, unfortunately, until 2025, unless something changes there in Congress and with our administration. But excited to see what that lease sale entails. I think there's going to be a lot of interest in that. And I had the opportunity just a few weeks ago to testify to the House Natural Resource Committee, the Congress in Washington, D.C., to talk about the importance of energy production for our country, and that, we're not transitioning from anything. We're actually trying to addition. We need a balanced approach to energy. We're always going to need fossil fuels for everything we enjoy in our life. I talk about that a lot when we come on this show.
Absolutely.
I feel like we have to continue to repeat that.
Right.
And but we are going to add some different sources of energy, that being offshore wind and whatever else happens into the future. We want to be able to support that in our communities, to work in those industries and be able to support those industries as well. So we see that continuing now and through the coming years. So we're proud of that. Flipping to offshore wind, there's been some major things that have taken place just recently.
Okay.
In fact, last week, that the state of Louisiana Mineral Resources approved the first Louisiana state waters offshore wind leases. And that was with a company called Vestas or Cajun Wind. That's in extreme western Louisiana off of Cameron. And then another area with Diamond Offshore Wind that is really right here between Port Fourchon and Terrebonne Parish, south of Timberlake Bay, in state waters. So obviously we're very high on those projects, and certainly believe that Port Fourchon will play a role in at least one, if not both of those projects in terms of construction into the future. With that being said, just last week we extended a right of first refusal that we had with Crowley Wind.
Right.
Because there hasn't been a lot of movement in the market for offshore wind, that 1 year right of first refusal needed to be extended so we can see kind of how that market matures over the next year. With that state waters lease being approved last week, that's some good progress, and hopefully we see something in the year of 2024 in terms of a purpose-built offshore wind facility. If that doesn't go through, obviously our current customer base can handle working with that offshore wind market as well. So either way, Port Fourchon, we certainly believe is going to play a key role in offshore wind in state waters as well as federal waters for the coming time. The other thing I can tell you that we approved last week, we hadn't pressed it out yet. We're going to do that at the beginning of the week and give more details. I won't go into too much detail here, but we did approve a lease with a company called Gulf Wind Technologies to build a wind turbine in Port Fourchon. And that's going to be the first of its kind in the state of Louisiana. And it'll be basically a research or data-driven turbine that'll be collecting data on the winds we have in our region and the impacts of tropical events or hurricanes on wind blades and that sort of thing. So we're excited about that, kind of on the cutting edge of that. And that's kind of one step that's not part of that GLOW or LSU Offshore Wind Consortium thing that we're working with. But it's kind of the first step into that. And then the future is coming through that whole consortium that received a grant from the Economic Development Administration in the future. So we're excited about what we're going to see coming in terms of just offshore energy in general and playing a role in assisting in what the offshore wind market could look like in the Gulf of Mexico. The other thing that's going to come off of that research wind turbine, again, it's going to be small scale, kind of 186 feet from base to tip of blade. So that's a small wind turbine, but it's research driven. It's going to create somewhere around 200 to 300 kilowatts of power, 200, 300 kW. And we're going to use that offtake in some of our facilities in the port. So we're excited about being on the cutting edge of some of this stuff. And look, the state of Louisiana, our community has been a player in offshore energy, and we will continue to be a player in offshore energy as we look forward into the future, whatever energy that may be.
I like it. I like it. We're going to take a short break. I want to come back and talk a lot more about that, Chet. So stick with us. You do that as well. We'll be right back here on Bayou Time. Don't go anywhere.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Parabon General Health Systems, modern technology, and timeless caring. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bourke, know your rights. South Louisiana Bank, it's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough. Alford and Associates, for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.
Hello and welcome back to this edition of Bayou Time. Again, your host, Keith Whiteside. Thanks you for joining us. We appreciate it. And again, we have Chet Chesson with us over down in the port. We appreciate you being here and talking with us, Chet. But I really appreciate you talking about all of the different avenues that we're looking into for this possibility of what may happen with wind. We know what oil and gas is doing and what it needs to do for the sustenance that we need.
Yes, we do. And there is, by no means do we believe, and I said that it's in my testimony, as I mentioned in the last segment, a testimony to Congress. By no means do we believe that offshore oil and gas or oil and gas in general, the need for that, for energy and for all the different products that we enjoy in our daily lives, that's not going away.
Right.
For the foreseeable future, for the next 50 years, my lifetime, your lifetime, our kids' lifetime, that's not going away.
Right.
So anytime we talk about offshore wind or offshore hydropower or whatever that may be,
right,
we're not talking about one or the other. We're talking about the addition of and keeping all of those intact.
Right.
And that's going to be critical as we move forward. Is to not be in that mindset of, getting away from one and starting up anew.
Right.
What I can tell you is our community, the businesses here in our communities have been instrumental in building the offshore wind projects in the Northeast.
Yep.
And they couldn't do it without the help of Cajun ingenuity, okay?
That's right.
And we believe that we'll see even better and even more efficient ways to construct and operate as we move into the Gulf of Mexico with offshore wind. And our tenants, our customers, our businesses have been supporting that in the Northeast. They'll do it here in the Gulf of Mexico, while at the same time exploring and producing oil and natural gas in the Gulf.
In the Gulf. And it's a really good point. And I also want to kind of bring back to, we need to put this turbine up. It's wonderful that you got approval to be able to do that down at the port, just to see what the options are. What is the realistic view of that while we're continuing to develop oil and gas? And I'm glad we got another lease coming through. Because, we talked about a time when those were on hold, right? And so another lease coming through we need, but it's that oil and gas. It's kind of interesting. You mentioned all the community support in the Northeast, but oil and gas is what supports our communities down here. Let's talk about some of the wonderful additions like the pavilion, some of the things that y'all are doing at the port to make it better for the community.
Absolutely. So the pavilion, we opened that up this year. 2023 was the first year to have those multiple fishing rodeos at our new pavilion in Port Fourchon, just enhancing that experience for our community to enjoy the outdoors, to enjoy our environment, to see the basic collaboration between industry and the environment and how they work very well together. They're not mutually exclusive of each other. Port Fourchon, our communities here in South Louisiana, in particular the Fourchon Terrebonne, are what we call the working coast, right? So we have recreational commercial fishing, and we have offshore oil and gas services and inshore oil and gas services. We can do it all. And we have to stop having this mindset on the national level that it's either or, because it is not. Fourchon would not exist. That land that is there today would not exist if it weren't for industry wanting to develop and operate there, right? It would have washed away by now, and we would have lost that habitat and all those things. By having Port Fourchon where it is today, and as we develop and continue to develop, it's allowing us to build out more marsh, to do the coastal restoration work that we need to have more resilient infrastructure and be an example to the country and to the world on how to do things the right way. And that's what I think. I talk about this with my board, my commissioners, a lot, where we don't get enough credit here in our communities for what we do, and for how we do it, and for the thought leadership that exists. And we need to be proud of that, because people don't always think like we do. And it's our job, it's our duty to make sure that we tell our story the proper way. And I'm proud of the fact that this Port Commission and our staff and this community and our region is doing it the right way.
Well, and doing it the right way certainly means helping to make sure people are educated about what is really happening, what we really rely on, and what is happening for us and what sustains us, and those things that can be additional. And I love the way to be able to do that. It's not replacing the energy that we have. It's something additional to the energy that we have, because we've got all of those things that we rely upon. And we just, again, that needs to be a community, a state, a national reminder that we've got things really, really good. We can get better at them, and there's a lot of ways to do that, but let's not abandon what's worked so very well for so long, and how well we do that and how well we communicate that out to other people. And so, Chet, we appreciate your leadership in that role. We appreciate the Port Commission and all the things that you guys do. We look forward to some great things in 2024. And so we'll bring you back and celebrate those things as we talk about it as we move forward with taking care of what people need here with energy.
Absolutely. Happy to do it.
Thanks so much, Chet. We appreciate it. All right, guys, and that will do it for this particular segment of Bayou Time. Don't go anywhere. A lot more local programming right here on HTV.